Hi, this is my review of the Dungeon Under the Mountain Level 2. If you haven't seen my review of Level 1, I recommend that you check that out. I'm going to put the link in the description below. With Level 2, we have a good sense that each level in the Dungeon Under the Mountain is going to feel subtly yet significantly different from the other levels. You will see that, for example, when in Level 1, there was a sense that even though it served as an entry level, it still had many rooms and many corridors, many locations that could house some dangerous foes, some puzzles, especially because of those teleporters. With Level 2, there are some intricacies when it comes to the movement, the navigation in the dungeon, some alternate ways of getting in and out of the different rooms, things that I have thought out just taking a look at the layout, especially those rooms with water in them, and I will tell you why in a few minutes. But also, the size of the rooms gives you plenty of ideas on how to challenge the party of adventurers. Now, let's talk about the quality of the PDF. The quality is excellent. The document is fully bookmarked, excellently organized and well written. It only has a brief introduction telling you how to use the PDF and the Rule the Dungeon button that is special of Zero One Games PDF maps. So everything is perfect when it comes to the quality. And the graphics, the quality of the lines, the clarity of each of the sections of the dungeon, everything is top notch. You also have a legend of the different symbols that are going to be used. And you have some squares of the sections divided so that you can click on each section and go to that particular area. So this PDF is going to be excellent to move through the different sections of the dungeon in a hurry. Maybe your players decided to take that particular way out of a room that you thought they were going to avoid or that they weren't going to go into until they tackled some other areas or rooms first, but now you won't be taken by surprise, you won't be caught off guard. Getting to that place or that area where the party of adventurers decided to venture into is just one click away, thanks to these summary squares of the entire dungeon level. Let's take a look at some of the things that you can do with the Rule the Dungeon button. So you can hide the room numbers, you can also hide the furniture, activate and deactivate the grid. You can also deactivate the teleports, the water rooms. You can also deactivate the colors of some main areas and secondary areas. You can also deactivate the feel of the walls and toggle between white and yellow in the color. And you can also deactivate all the options as well. So this is great because what if there's a puzzle where some place that the players couldn't get into because it was filled with poisonous water or something? They activate a switch or press this button or that lever, and now they can go into that room and you can mark it on the dungeon as if that room is now empty of poisonous water, for example. And there are many ways that you can play around with this. Maybe your dungeon doesn't have water, maybe it has acid or slime, or it's like an anti-magic field. The colors could represent anything you like. Although I will give you some tips on how you can use this water layout in different areas to your advantage if you want to play around with the perceptions of what the players are expecting from this dungeon, or rather this level 2 of the Dungeon Under the Mountain. Okay, so I was saying, just take a look at all of these rooms with water. And I was thinking maybe you could place some giant monsters, perhaps a giant water snake, or perhaps an army of deep ones. And the players could be thinking, but how did this monster or this army of deep ones get into this room? There were no signs of wetness or moisture of any kind in the hallway that we were crossing. But this makes sense if you take a look at this other section in the room. Maybe this pond or pool is actually an entrance into a complex labyrinth of underwater tunnels just below level 2. Maybe you can actually go through these different tunnels, take advantage of that ring of water breathing, or some magical device or spell that you can use to have an easier time moving through water without worrying of dying down there. So you can move through the different rooms that have already some body of water in them. So if you wanted to, you could introduce many amphibious or water-based type of creatures, because with so many rooms and pools filled with water, there could be different ways for them to move around the dungeon without lacking water as their favorite terrain. And with all of these huge rooms, they are just perfect to house some large monsters or even an entire army of perhaps orcs, goblins, kobolds, gnolls, anything that you can think of. And some of the rooms feel quite spectacular or even ceremonious. So maybe they are carrying out some sort of sacrifice, they're going to sacrifice the villagers or whatever, and the player characters need to rescue those prisoners. And what if, for example, there is an element of like a time limit? Maybe they need to get quickly from one section of the dungeon of level 2 to the other. And you have this corridor with a lot of teleports. If you're a sadistic game master, maybe you can key a certain teleport to take them to the other side of the room, and if the players are not keeping track of the teleporters that they have gone into, maybe they actually teleport you to a different place depending on how you enter them, from the east or from the west, or if you enter them backwards, that is with your back facing them. You can play around with the players' minds using this particular section of level 2. So if I had to categorize this level, I think this is perfect to have some water-based enemies or amphibious enemies as well, and large armies or large monsters because of the huge rooms that you can find here. And there are some hallways that are perfect to lay out some unexpected traps or hazards or invisible enemies even. So I like it that it feels so different from level 1. Level 2 has its own unique character to it, and that way it won't feel too forced having such a large number of enemies in a single room, or that feel out of place because you're going to say this is not their natural habitat, and then the game master could say, well, there are these pools of water that connect to an underwater network or labyrinth of tunnels that lead straight to the lair of the deep ones or the Sawajin or any type of monster or creature that you can imagine. But it's up to you. This level 2 of the Dungeon Under the Mountain has so many ways in which you can use it, in which you can populate it with monsters, fill it with traps, and give some justifications or reasons as to why the layout is as it is presented. So let me tell you what I think of the Dungeon Under the Mountain level 2. Another excellent level. It feels great to use it as a continuation of the Dungeon Under the Mountain level 1, but you can also insert it in any adventure that you are running. But I would recommend using it in adventures where you need either really large monsters, a large amount of enemies, and perhaps, as I was saying, some aquatic enemies as well. So I highly recommend that you get level 2 of the Dungeon Under the Mountain. And later on in March, probably around mid-March, I'm going to bring out a review of level 3. So I hope that you will join me for that review. Well, thanks for watching this review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you later.